Welcome to today's episode, everyone. We've got a very exciting guest for you guys. For those of you just joining the podcast, we're E.N.G Media, and we specialize in helping software and technology companies scale their revenue. So if you want to learn how to take your software or tech business to the next level, make sure to stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop us the word growth in the DMs. But without further ado, Todd, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I'm really excited to dive into all the awesome things that you're working on and kind of your background that's led you up to this point.
Tyson, it's great to be here with you today. I'm excited to talk about love being an entrepreneur. I feel like I was just born to do this. So
Absolutely, man. No, I can totally tell. And maybe we can just start by, you know, kind of like your background, over the years of what's led you up to the point to starting really Qore AI, and like why you specifically chose to, build technology for dealerships and for dealers themselves.
yeah, so my background is all automotive, so I'm pretty like pigeonholed as a person, right? Like I'm probably one of the rare breeds left, Tyson, that I'm like still doing what I started doing
Yeah.
when I first started my career. Now I started in retail auto sales in 1990, so super long, probably before you were born, and jammed out and sold cars, and I managed car dealerships, and then I
Nice.
ended up owning a Chevy dealership, and out of that, it's really interesting to me. I always was passionate about technology,
Uh-huh.
but I wasn't a technologist. But I realized I was like, wow, all this technology, how can it help me be more efficient, run a better business, be more
Yeah.
profitable, take less off my shoulders, right? Like, how can I automate things? So I was always interested in that side of the business. So
Nice.
internet came out in the mid 90s, and then dealers kept asking me since I was young then, like, hey, well, what about this internet thing, you young guy? Like, help us solve it for the dealership. So I got fast like tracked into the tech side as well. I
Oh
invested
well.
in one of the first web-based CRMs in
Huh.
like 2000. Ultimately became vice president of sales of that.
Oh
Then,
well.
um, I went back into retail after we
Uh-huh.
sold it. So I exited that, and to me, I love retail. So,
Yeah.
but at the time, I one of the ideas I had at my previous store
Uh-huh.
ultimately turned into the last company I sold in 2018, Act and Engage, which was the largest managed live chat provider for
Oh
auto
wow.
dealers. And
Nice.
then, like anything, I think the best technology, we can all create ideas.
Uh-huh.
I think it's best we go in search of problems.
Mm.
So for me, the auto groups I kept talking to,
Mhm.
though they didn't articulate it, they all had the same problem, which was very disconnected, siloed data across multiple systems,
Yeah.
multiple views of the same customer, and they were having a very difficult time understanding what was working for their business and what wasn't.
Yeah.
So when I peeled that all back for Core AI, the opportunity was, can we organize all the data for dealers in a
Mhm.
way that will empower them to make better decisions? And in the age of AI,
Yeah.
it was kind of the fortuitous time to not
Mhm.
only help them get their arms around the data, but then leverage AI to make the data intelligent. So nobody wants to look at another dashboard, or
Uh-huh.
nobody wants to look at another report or an Excel report with pivot tables. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, Tyson, just what do you want? What do I need to do next? How do I
Yeah.
sell another car? How do I get more service business? How can I
Yeah.
get more trade-ins, like in the dealership lingo? That's all we care about. So
100%. No,
yeah.
that is super awesome. And I know I talked to you before the podcast about my experience working, in credit sales for Toyota Financial Services, where I manage and I talk to dealers. So you're 100% right in them kind of just being straight to the point. I think they're the last people that want to be stuck in some kind of dashboard or spreadsheet with all of their data. And it's super, interesting that you mentioned you really focus on making the data more intelligent. And does it deal with data that's like marketing and sales or specific, like customer retention data? Like kind of what does that look like from your perspective?
Yeah, so we grab all the data from the dealership. So everything, all their sales data, service data, everything. And then we have a deep partnership with Equifax. So then we have all the 331 million Americans, behavioral data, their financial data. So we mash all this together. And though we do, dealers are very interested in sales and marketing type stuff. I believe the greater benefit to auto dealers will rest in using this data to be more operationally efficient and to replace what I consider highly repetitive tasks with automation.
100%. I think too, one example that I can think of, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the times I was talking to dealers during month end, working in the credit department at an auto financing bank. A lot of the times there was missed like proof of residency and documents and just all of the things that were needed for funding. So even though, deals were approved and they rolled a car off of the lot, they weren't actually able to get funded, the dealership themselves. And a lot of times they'd have to bring customers back in. They'd have to go looking for them because they already rolled the vehicle. So is there any way that you help them leverage like some of that operational data so that way they can like better close out the month and kind of
Yep.
get their deals funded?
We haven't gone as far as the funding of them. I think there's definitely a world where AI is going to analyze the deal and all the deal materials to ensure that before it's submitted to underwriting, that it's going to have no flags, right? Nothing that deal is going to come back and cause delays in funding. So that's definitely going to happen, I think, soon. I think for us, like organizationally, like we name projects after people. I don't know if this is a good idea, Tyson, but it is what we do today. Where like we have an Emily project. Emily is a controller for Auto Group, and she spends like over a day just helping to figure out the salespeople and service advisors' payroll because she has to match who sold what, half deal, partial deal to their pay plans, and it takes a long time. So our goal is that's going to get reduced to about 12 seconds, right? So 2 days of her labor turns into 12 seconds, and her what we still call human in the loop, her just looking over to make sure it looks right. So we definitely see a world where we're trying to look at the operational, like for us, bottlenecks,
Yeah.
and how do we just remove the person from having to do to me, the terrible repetitive tasks that nobody wants to do. Like we have a guy, it's called the Justin Project.
Uh-huh.
Justin spends his days, and I mean days, it's a giant group. I think he spends most of his month trying to match back email marketing to a sold customer or service and then to the revenue. And it takes them all month. Now it's going to take about 15 seconds. So
Oh, gosh.
again, this world we're entering because of AI and data. We're stacking these things to be able to leverage and pull these levers to create new operational efficiencies. And I think that's the key of this right now. I don't think AI for the sake of AI. Well, it better be doing something really valuable for you. And to
Yeah.
me, that's like, how do I sell more, service more, or get more organizationally efficient? Like, I want my people to focus on highest value, and that to me is always customer facing. Doing payroll or doing inventory or matchback, not not customer facing.
Yeah. You want to be able to like focus on the 20% of things that drive 80% of the results instead of the 80% of the things that probably only drive 20, right?
Yeah, and look, we all get in a habit of even as entrepreneurs, right? Like we will end up, oh, I'll do the easy stuff. And I always say, like, I tell every entrepreneur, I was like, you should wake up every day and do the hardest thing for the day first.
Hmm.
Like absolutely the hardest thing. Because look, you're fresh, you have the most energy, and
Right.
most likely I also view that the hardest things are
Mhm.
going to give you the largest impact. So listen, if you spend your morning doing all the little stupid things,
Right.
the reality is it's not truly impacting your business to move it forward. And
100%.
I find like, no, do the really hard things, the things that just are 10x to help your business grow. And the little things are filler. And, I kind of call it like rocks, pebbles, and sand.
Yeah.
Like, when you have a jar, you put the rocks and the big things first.
Yeah.
And those are those main things that you have to get done. And then you throw a bunch of pebbles in there, and the pebbles are important things, but they're not the main things. And then sand fills in the rest. And the problem is, if you spend too much time in the sand, you never get the big stuff done. And
Right.
I always feel it's like the Roosevelt had this four square basically, and it's like, and it's called the Roosevelt. What was it called? you'll have to Google. It's called the Roosevelt like way of decision making, and it was like, immediate has to be done, or would nice to be done, or probably
Yeah.
should never get done. Kind of, you set it up in quadrants.
100%. I think I am familiar with it as well. I don't know the exact name, but I can kind of look into that deeper. But I love that that's like the same approach you take with how you're coming into these dealerships and really making sure that when you're looking at their data and you're trying to help them be more efficient, you're focused on like those higher leverage things kind of on the upfront. So,
Yeah, we want to focus on things that really move the business forward. Listen, the problem is in auto, there's probably 1,000 things we could do when we walk into the dealership. And our time is so fractured with problems and fires to put out, and employee issues, customer issues, vehicle issues, like vendors there. It's like a mess.
yeah,
So to me, I think part of this is like, okay, how do I prioritize? And we are looking at it the same way now through the data. Like, okay, what data and what can we do to bring more value to the dealership as well as to the employees through efficiency gains? So,
100%. No, I love that. And a question that I have based off, everything that you've covered so far is like, do you guys have a specific plan for like certain dealerships? I guess like when they get to a certain size, or maybe if you start working with larger clients, do you have to build out more customized like data solutions for them?
you know, our focus is groups. So we
Yeah,
like dealers have 10 or more stores
nice.
just because they have more data.
Mhm.
Um, they're actually easier to work with, believe it or not. The bigger the group, it's as easy as it's hard or as easy as like if they had one store. So
Um,
for us, we like more data because more data allows more cross pollination of data, more intelligence, more
yeah,
things we can learn from it for them organizationally.
yeah,
So I would say our target right now is groups. And again, entrepreneurial experience.
yeah.
You have a couple choices. I could go knock on 18,000 doors,
Hmm.
right? Because that's about how many new car stores there are in America. Or I could knock on the 1,000 biggest ones,
Yeah,
which control, 10,000 of those 18,000 stores, right? Like,
yeah,
so for us, I think as an entrepreneur, I'm also trying to be ruthlessly efficient with my own time.
yeah.
And that means focus on groups.
100%. Yeah, no, I love that approach as well. I think it's a higher leverage, like you're focused more on like the higher leverage opportunities, I would say. And, you know, kind of from that perspective as well, like I know that these dealerships and especially probably who you're talking to, they're super busy as well. So, a question I always like to ask, kind of coming from a marketing perspective, like how are you able to get in front of these dealerships in a meaningful way? I know you have tons of experience in the space, like well over 15 years of experience in dealerships, and I'm sure you get a bunch of referrals, word of mouth, kind of just because they all talk, all of these dealers at conferences and
Sure.
whatever it is, really. But how are you going and like specifically targeting like maybe new auto groups that might not be familiar with Core AI? Are you sharing like these use cases? Are they reaching out to you over like social media, or like do you guys have any type of process around that? I guess.
Yeah, we do. We spend zero in marketing spend.
Nice.
So I always liked Musk's philosophy is like build a great product. Like
Yeah.
you need marketing when you don't sometimes when you don't have a great product yet. And
100%.
I feel but I'm sure there are great products and they still spend marketing. Let me
Sure.
preference that. But I felt like for us, I wanted to put the money into the product.
Yeah.
We can use referrals. Obviously, I have tons of relationships in the industry, so I leverage those. And as you've noticed, I write a ton of content. I have written for since March 27th of last year, every single day on LinkedIn, I've posted content. So I'm
Wow.
picking up now that long tail of content where people
Yeah.
are seeing all my content, reading it, and going, oh, that's interesting. Let me reach out. So I get
Yeah.
lots of DMs on LinkedIn, and I'm more single channel focused.
Hmm.
We do a podcast called Core Conversations that I post on YouTube, but that's it. Like I decide to say, look, single channel. I believe my ICP, not all of them are on LinkedIn, but enough of them are on LinkedIn today to get my business to what I call level one, which is a few hundred dealer clients, and from there we'll kind of I think continue to think out what we'll do. Now, I believe, and I challenge my team all the time, where I don't want to hire people like SDRs to go do lead management. I want to automate. I literally want to use the technology not only we're building, but I want to think AI first. That like, can I build AI to do things that a person would do, repetitive tasks, like, hey, send out emails to my ICPs. If they open, send this tax, give them this value. I think I'm going to say this, that I think you win today with overwhelming giving
Yeah.
of value without asking for anything.
Yeah.
So we're super transparent. We write, obviously, not only the content I put on LinkedIn, I write ebooks, I do our podcast, I push all that content downstream in hope that they will find that comment if they're trying to fix that problem.
100%. It's almost like when you need this, it'll be here. Like the algorithm will find you when you're looking for it.
But isn't that the case? Like, look, Tyson, like, oh man, I'm gonna I was just in St. Thomas. What do? I just go on Google and like, dude, what's up in St. Thomas? What should I do? What's 5 things, right? Like, we just go get the information now. And that's why I feel like nobody wants 40 vendors knocking on your front door, like trying to sell you something at a missed time. I think it is an insane waste of human effort to like bounce off door after door after door. And then I feel like it's depressing too, because you will get in auto, you'll get the door slammed in your face like all day, every day. And it's because everyone's busy. So what has to happen is something happens in the store. They go searching, and there's Todd Smith waving, here's free content. Let me help you understand this. Here's educational material. You don't even have to choose us, but this is how this works. This is how AI is going to work. This is how data hygiene works. This is how data enhancement works. Like, let me help you be the source to guide you in whatever journey you want to go on.
100%. No, I love that. And I think you're following a playbook that makes sense, especially if you're providing AI solutions. Like if you look at a lot of the companies like Cursor.io, and a lot of these AI companies, they focused on developing a really, really good product, like bringing awareness with like posting, their demos throughout multiple different channels, but like leading with value. And I know like anytime that I go to buy something as well, even if I know I need it, if somebody is reaching out to me or beating down my door, whether that's calling me or whatever the case is, it gives off like a wrong impression. Whereas like the majority of the things that I bought for, especially for what I need in my business, I've gone searching for myself. And because they have that content out there, I was able to find it. And I feel like that's really the best way to generate demand for your solutions. And, another question that I wanted to ask you as well is, for potential dealerships that, maybe they watch this podcast or they come across your content, is there any misconceptions that they have about AI or anything that you would really want them to know when they're maybe considering using somebody such as yourself at Qore AI?
Yeah, listen, we're deeply in the hype cycle around AI right now. Like, it'll do everything, Tyson. And I'm like, well, maybe one day, if it all works, who knows what it will really do over the next few years. So the first thing I always say with AI in dealerships, do the most basics. Like, get a paid ChatGPT subscription, play with it, understand it. Do not delegate that.
Yeah.
Right? So the first thing is, because by understanding it, then you're like, oh, if I understand it, I can ask the right questions.
Exactly.
It's like, to me, it's like all the Congress asking questions of Meta and Bezos. They didn't even know what to ask because they weren't educated.
Yeah.
And to think these guys had people prepping them, their questions were terrible. because, and I was like, man, I was like, it's so bizarre. Like, I just saw the lady who's the head of education calling AI A1. We're putting A1 into all the schools, and I'm like, my mind was blown because I'm like, oh my god, this lady's leading education. She's calling it A1, the steak sauce that it's going to transform all our lives, and she doesn't even know what it is. And again, I always say, like, educate, educate, educate. And I think for dealers, starting small, like, don't look at AI like it's going to completely run your store. Look at AI like, hey, what can I use this for to make what my people are already doing? How can I make them faster, more accurate, better, and create better outcomes? Rule one. Once you do that, you kind of build on top of it. So it's like building a house, right? You build a good foundation, then you kind of build up from there. And you take your time. This tech is going to completely continue to change. Whatever we're doing today, 3 months from now is not what we're going to do. 6 months from now, it's not what we're going to do. So don't wait till AI is perfected. It's never going to be perfected. We're going to see faster and faster iterations of this technology that's going to affect more and more of our daily lives. So being knowledgeable of that today is critical.
100%. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. So it's really like taking the time to understand the technology and not thinking of it in a way of like how is it going to automate absolutely everything in my dealership or in my business, but really thinking on like the key things that you can kind of replace and that can make you, I guess, more efficient.
Yeah, so like I would read The Coming Wave by Mustafa Solomon. He was one of the original founding team of DeepMind, who sold to Google and became head of, he's, I think right now, head of Google's AI.
Nice.
Brilliant guy, gives you a very good understanding of, you know, different scenarios. And it's very easy to read, like from a layman's term. And the other one I would say is Mo Gadot wrote a book, and it's called. I know he'd kill me if by forgetting. He's written two books, but Mo Gadot. Also another Google guy. He was he was like COO of Google X, where all their exploratory stuff was done. It's called Scary Smart. Now, this one will frighten you a little bit of if
Wow.
this AI goes off rail. And
Yeah.
definitely a probability, right? Like it's not zero that it doesn't cause us harm. So
Mhm.
both those books, though, I think give you a really solid framework of
Yeah.
at least what we're looking at over the next 6 to 12 months.
100%. Yeah, I definitely will make sure to include them as well in the description once I can kind of find the links to where people can find them as well. And
Yeah.
I agree with you 100% that like everything that's going on with technology and with AI, it's going to be completely different like month over month over month as like the technology gets more sophisticated. So what another question that I wanted to ask you is are there any kind of new initiatives that you're rolling out at Qore AI or any like exciting things that you're working on that maybe we can touch on this podcast?
Yeah, look, we're I feel every day I live in the candy land of being able to work on exciting new things and try to see more and more technological breakthroughs. Um, I think as we continue to train these LLMs, they continually get smarter and they highlight things that, we missed. Or it was super interesting, like, I asked the LLM, like, show me my top 100 customers.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, yeah, but do you want service customers or sales customers or people who spent both? Or like, I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. Like, to me, it's interesting because I'm like, oh, these breakthroughs, these systems will continue to have to give us not just the intelligence, but what to do next. And like one of the ones we're working on today, which so for in the auto industry, part of a transaction, right? You have the car you're buying, and
Mhm.
for many people, you have a car you're selling.
Ah,
And dealers need to put a value on that car. And a lot of times they make a mistake for how much the repairs will be on that car to make it frontline ready so they can resell it. So one of the things we've been working on, we have millions and millions of repair orders. So now we're analyzing all the repair orders, matching it. So if the dealership's trading in, let's say, a 2019 Chevy Tahoe with 60,000 miles,
Mhm.
our system's smart enough to go, well, for 2019 Tahoe with 60 some thousand, these are the average things on the repair bill that have
Uh-huh.
broken or go wrong between 60 and 70,000 miles. So here's things to look at, and here's the cost of it. So they can be
Oh,
more accurate for the appraised value of the car. So I think for us, that's a very exciting thing to help kind of remove gut
yeah.
and use logic and use AI to help get us closer to the pin. None of this data is never a perfect science. It's kind of get on the green and putt around
Yeah.
because it's always moving. Like data is fluid, data is not a static thing. So in
Mhm.
dealerships, we see snapshot of data like a sale, a service experience, and we have to wrap that with all the consumers' behavioral, what they're doing online. They just had a baby, they just moved, maybe
Oh,
they
wow.
crashed their car, like they just got a new job. All this data has to be rolled together to that the AI starts to understand the consumers at that type of level.
Oh, wow. So yeah, it's very complex. But now I can understand what you're saying when you're talking about making the data more intelligent and kind of
Yeah.
like always create like helping it learn from like in leveraging in a lot of that stuff you can predict as well. Like a lot of the vehicles have similar recalls based off of a certain amount of mileage, the year that it came out, like what model or trim the vehicle was, and so I think
Right.
that that's going to be huge. Hopefully, you're posting about that as you guys kind of roll that out. I think that'll be really interesting to see some of those use cases.
Yeah, like those are those use cases we just think are just plain powerful and
Yeah.
really yield, look, everything we're thinking about today, I'm like, does this 10x the dealership from where they are? Like, is it
Yeah.
10x better of a process? If it's not 10x, we probably don't want to do it right now because
Yeah.
I believe there's dozens of 10x things where,
Mhm.
hey, let's apply AI and data to help them get 10x faster, better results, more efficient out of something they're already trying to do. I don't think it's makes sense to solve all problems with AI today. I think you
Yeah.
solve again the boulders, the rocks in the glass jar. Those are the ones we want to solve.
100%. So taking like a 10x approach as well. And yeah, I think that that's really insightful for anybody that's looking to do anything really in the AI space. Would you have any other advice, for let's just say an AI or a technology founder and kind of like the way that they should look at their product and really build out like a successful business with this being like your your additional one, really?
Yeah, look, I think for any entrepreneur, before you build anything, before you write one line of code,
Mhm.
go sit in the business and watch how they actually operate, whatever business that is.
Yeah.
To me, entrepreneurs a lot of times have a thesis and
Hmm.
then they build a product, and then what they now have is a product in search of a problem.
Yeah.
Because you could go into a business and go, my gosh, this is a problem, and they're like, it's not really that big of a problem, or I'm not willing to pay to solve that problem, but over here I'm willing to pay if someone solves this. And you need enough of, oh my gosh, if someone solves this,
Yeah.
I'll write a check tomorrow. Because to those you could be like, well, then write the check and I'm going to build it and I'll give you the money back if I don't build it. So
Yeah.
that type of like pre-commitment to
Uh-huh.
something makes projects accelerate so much faster. For us, we went a big group, they shared our problems, they invested in us, and we built their solutions. And I think
Wow.
that is a more palatable path for entrepreneurs so that you don't waste time. You go right to the
Yeah.
meat. Solve the problem that's so painful, people will pay anything to fix it.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that advice. I think product market fit is so important. There's no better way to know than just go out and talk to your potential clients and really sit in there. And I know you mentioned that obviously you have tons of experience as a dealer yourself. So I think that it's important to really have a deep understanding instead of like building something out kind of on the front end and going out and searching for a problem really. And so,
Yeah.
I love that advice. And really, if there is anybody that's, they come across this podcast, or, maybe they want to connect with Todd, or they want to learn more about Qore AI outside of your guys' website, is LinkedIn really the best place for them to go and connect with you?
Absolutely. You can DM me on LinkedIn. Totally open that. Get DMs all the time. Um,
Nice.
don't really respond to ones of people trying to sell me stuff. But if you just want advice, I talk to a lot of other entrepreneurs, invested in other entrepreneurs. I feel like for me, I'm always, I want to help other people be successful. I think that's part of giving back. I think also I'm always super excited to hear the passion of other people and what they're trying to solve. So
Yeah. You sound like somebody who's always interested in learning and kind of getting to that next level.
I am a student of this game, sir. This is all I read. I read a book a week. I'm just finished Hardball. There's a book written like forever ago. Love it. Just got this one. This is my weekend reading here. It's coming. So this guy's great. These guys are the Category Pirates. They've written a couple books. Love this stuff. So to me, I feel like I am always trying to learn. I love autobiographies, like going into the past, not to predict the future, but the past, there's so much intelligence that you can like leverage moving forward. And I think a lot of times we don't think about it that way. I feel like, the past doesn't predict the future, but it definitely is directional, right? Like it's going to be new and different with all this new tech, but we can learn. We can learn from what happened during the birth of the internet. We had a
Yeah.
boom, we had a bust, probably going to go through something a little similar with AI. You're going to get some companies that end up winning it at the end. Yeah, so I feel like you use information. You cannot learn too much in this world, and if you're not continuously learning, you are falling behind.
Yeah, no, I love that mindset. And hopefully, all of the posts that you're making on social media and even you jumping on this podcast is helping kind of educate people. And I appreciate you being willing to, for people to reach out to you in case they need any kind of advice. And I just appreciate, I think that's a kind gesture as well. And I'll be sure to include links in the descriptions to, the books that you mentioned, your guys' LinkedIn profile, as well as the website as well. I highly recommend that you guys do go check out Qore AI, maybe connect with Todd as well. But really, other than that, I mean, thank you so much for your time and really for all the insights today.
No, I really appreciate you having me on, Tyson. Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Alrighty, guys. Well, there you have it. We will catch you in the next video.